Hello, LEC community. Thank you so much for joining us for another nominee interview for Latinx Educator Awards. My name is Susana Lizarraz. I'm Deputy Director of the LEC, and I have the privilege of being here with one of our Support Staff of the Year nominees, Ana Castaneda. Ana, how are you today?
Hi, good, thank you. Hi,
How
everybody.
how is your Monday starting? You're in Garden City, right? You talked about?
Yes, I'm in Garden City, Kansas. It's been a good Monday. We started the kickoff of National School Counselor Week, so I started some activities this morning with the school staff and the students.
Nice. Okay, so you're a counselor at your
Yeah,
school.
yes.
Nice. Okay, we have gotten some inquiries because we don't have counselor of the year as one of the categories. And so
Oh, uh-huh.
folks have been asking like where do we put, right? Because we have educator and we have support staff. And so we were like for now it's support staff, but definitely some good feedback because we have some
Mm-hmm.
counselors
There is.
counselors in our education system. So thank you for joining us. Let's jump right in. So Anna, tell us about you, your story and your journey to where you are.
So I am originally from Mexico, in Estado de Mexico, and my parents brought me over to the U.S. when I was 3. Um, and we migrated to Nebraska. So I grew up there, um, and we lived in Crete, Nebraska. So it was a very small town over by Lincoln, Nebraska, the capital. Um, and so growing up, I was one of the very few minority students in my town. And gradually, up till when I got to high school, then we started seeing more um, minorities coming into the city. But by that time, I was already on my way out, heading to the university. And then I ended up in Garden City, Kansas, kind of just surprisingly. I had gone in to go talk to my mentor at the university and just kind of just say hi to him because every now and then I just pop in, see what was going on. and and he said, "Hey Anna, what happened with Garden City, Kansas?" And for my student teaching experience. And I was like, "No, it's already too late. Like I had already turned in all my things in September of that year, and by that time that had gone in to go talk to him, it was in November." And when he brought it up, and he's like, "Hey, well, they called me today and asked me, like, where's Anna? Is she coming?" And because I had met them back in March of that year at one of our conferences that we would host for high school students in Nebraska, but nothing ever really came out of it. And I didn't have plans on. I didn't know anybody here, so why was I going to go there? And he said, "No, you need to get out of your comfort zone, and there's good things out there for you. So you're going to go." And so I go, "Well, I don't even know how to go about because I had already turned in everything." And he's like, "Well, go to the College of Education and talk to them, and they will make sure that it gets set up for you." And it did. And about 2 weeks after that, I ended up coming down here with a few other students from UNK, the University of Nebraska at Kearney, to kind of tour the city and see what was out here for us. And I actually ended up coming out here the second semester for in January to student teach. And then there was another peer that came down for the second half of that semester. But I ended up coming back, and I've been here going on 11 years.
Oh my gosh, so you liked it.
I did. I did. It was more of, I liked that the majority of the people here looked like me.
Mhm.
And that there was a lot that I could do to help and represent who I am.
Yeah. Well, you answered my question because I was going to say, why? Like, what kept you there? And as I mentioned before I hopped on, Garden City is always kind of on our radar because we know there is a large Latino population there,
Mm-hmm.
large student population, but also there's a large Latino teacher population there too.
There
Uh,
is. Mm-hmm.
so that's really cool. That was a quick turnaround though, the November, and then you student taught that January.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. So like I said, Garden City was not even in my choices because I mean I had no family out here, so it was kind of, well, why would I go there?
Yeah, that's super cool. I mean, how do you feel now? I mean, obviously you like it. Like I said, you've been there
Mhm.
for 11 years. Um, what does it feel like impact wise? Do you think, I mean, relating to your kids, I'm sure, relating to their families?
Yes. So I student taught with the dual language
Hmm.
in kindergarten. And then after that, I went and did my second half with the ESL at the high school just to get both primary and secondary grades in. And and then my first job as a teacher was teaching third grade. So I taught that class or third grade for 4 years before I ended up being a school counselor. And since then, I've been working as a counselor. But it was mainly, like in your classroom, you only have your 25 kids, and then you see everything that your kids are going through. And you ask yourself, in what way can I help these kids better? How can I help their families or help support their families in their future? And so that's where when I pursued the school counselor aspect of it, because then I could do more and help support a bigger population of our students.
Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective because I know being a classroom teacher, sometimes you feel helpless with how much you have to do academically, right? And teaching, and there's so much to get done. Um,
Mhm.
but you see kiddos who kind of need a little bit extra love or who need a little bit of extra support, and sometimes, unfortunately, right, our scope and sequence, our curriculum takes precedence to that, unfortunately, right? And so we appreciate counselors like you for taking on that role, right? What grade levels are you with right now?
I am currently kindergarten through sixth grade, and I'm one of the three schools in Garden City that have kindergarten through sixth that are elementary. And then we have, there's quite a few buildings just in general that are K4.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Well, what does it feel like being nominated for this year's Latinx Educator Awards?
It's actually really surprising because I've never really been nominated for anything, and not that I expect it because we're here for the kids, we're here for our families.
Yeah.
But it really is an honor to be able to represent those Latinos, and kind of be somebody that that they can see and say, hey, I'm a Latino too, and I can do things too, or be out there and support and know that we're here to help.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. So many of the nominees will say the same thing, which is like, we just don't, you don't expect it because you do the work because you love it. You do the work because you love the kids and you love the families. But it is nice, right, to get recognized every once in a while, and be recognized for the work that you do. Thank you for the work that you do. It's not easy work, and so that's why we do this. So what we talked a little bit about this already, but in your opinion, why does representation matter in schools?
Oh gosh. Well, so I'm gonna speak from my experience as a Latina growing up. Like I said, I was one of the very few minority growing up in my hometown, and so um, there was no one that really that spoke Spanish in general. And so, for instance, like when I got pulled out to go translate when I was 7, 8 years old out of the class to go translate for a new family, or it at that time I didn't really think about it, but we need Latinos. I needed someone that I could go talk to. And then in high school, um, I was a generation student going pursuing college, and so my parents didn't know what they were doing or how to even go about with FAFSA or how to apply for scholarships for anything really. And so luckily I encountered a really good counselor that listened to me and was able to help me. And so that was my goal, was to be able to be there for kids and represent and just relate to them, relate to their stories, relate to immigration, the way that I grew up and how I lived.
Yeah, I mean, to have that experience yourself as a student and to know how much it means to have people who invest in you. Um, they don't have to be Latino, right? Like you said about your counselor, but
Mm-hmm.
when the fact that you got pulled out of a class at 7, right? There's obviously benefits in being multilingual, being bilingual. So thank you for that. Our mission is to create the conditions necessary for Latinx student advancement. A big part of that, of course, is investing in Latino teachers, supporting and retaining Latino educators. What are your thoughts about how we can build the right conditions for Latino student advancement?
Being there for those kids, and just listening to, their struggles or their successes, and believing in them, because not a lot of our kids believe in themselves. And um, knowing that sometimes our kids struggle at home, or at school, and they don't know how to go about with those struggles. And we may have gone through those same things. A lot of times it could be immigration status, and they don't know that they can go to school knowing their immigration status, and those opportunities are out there for them. And I know that I grew up with some peers that struggled with immigration, and they kind of just got stuck because they thought that they couldn't pursue anything because of that, because they were afraid, and they don't need to be afraid.
And it's people like you, right, who are there to say, we'll be with you, right? Don't be afraid. Here are the options, here are the resources. But you're right, there's a time in an adolescent's life where I remember growing up, and your peers kind of start to find out that they're undocumented and what that means for their higher education and et cetera. And
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine there being that, you know, struggling with the morale to continue, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
for there to be teachers, educators, counselors like you who are like, here are the options, right? Of course, things get difficult in education. As a counselor, I can imagine things can get really difficult for you. In those difficult moments, what keeps you going?
Knowing that our kids are going to succeed, and that we're going to give them the tools to get where they want to be. And especially, seeing families just, how they're impacted positively by, their teachers here. Like you said earlier, there is a lot of Latino educators, and I just love how we can talk to our families in our native language, and they don't need to, hold themselves back or ask questions about school, ask questions about how their kids are doing, because of a language barrier. There's not. And so, whether they speak to a Latino teacher or not, there's always going to be somebody there that's going to be able to translate for them. And so, giving those families the tools that they need to succeed as well, and to help their kids get to a brighter future.
Mm-hmm. What a beautiful answer. I also love how you kind of you brightened up a little bit at the beginning of that answer, right? Like my students, and knowing that they're going to succeed, like just seeing your passion kind of come through in your interview. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Congratulations again for being nominated. Any final thoughts before we hop off?
Well, no, I'm just very honored to be here with everybody, with you, Susana, for meeting you, and just knowing how much the Latinx Education Collaborative does for Latinos, and that you guys are expanding to Southwest Kansas, even though you guys are out in the metro area.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you. We want, no matter what, especially with this virtual world now more than ever, we want our love to spread across all the places to make sure that Latino educators know that we love them and that we support them from near or afar. Anna, stick around for a second. I'm going to wrap us up with our video and then we'll chat. LEC community, thank you for joining us for another nominee spotlight, and we'll see you very soon. Bye, everyone.